Today I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about a big social media influence that I came across his channel. And man, I'm just blown away by this man's content and the amount of clarity he has given me through the sharing of his perspective. If you're not familiar with him, his name is Dan Koe, and he has a huge platform on Instagram and a fairly decent following on YouTube as well. Just to allow you guys to become more familiarized with him, I'm going to share my screen so that you can see who he is. And but anyways, this guy is just, the way he breaks things down is just phenomenal. I was just floored when and I don't even know how I even stumbled across his YouTube channel, but I'm so glad that I did. 5 things, but these are the 5 main things that I got from him that helped me tremendously. And I do believe deep down in my core that these things are going to help me 10x my business. I have no doubts about that. So without further ado, I don't want to belabor the point, but I do want to share with you guys some of the things that I got out of watching hours and hours of some of his content. And of course, you guys are more than welcome to, go and check out some of his content, his videos and stuff. I would highly encourage you to do that. But anyways, so the five top things that I got out of watching Dan Koe is, number 1, and I think this is the most important one. I don't know why all of a sudden now I'm sneezing and stuff all over again. I had an allergy issue about a week or so ago, but I thought I was past that. And then as soon as I get on camera, it wants to start acting up again. But anyways, so the number one thing that I got from Dan Koe was how to define my purpose. I don't know about you guys, but I'm sure a lot of my followers have asked themselves, what is my purpose? Because if you're not a natural born athlete, or professional athlete or something like that, or let's say an entertainer, an actor, or a singer, or a dancer, things of that nature, then the rest of us who are not the artist type, a lot of times we kind of struggle with trying to figure out what the heck is our purpose. For me, I knew I was, kind of good at various different things, but I couldn't really quite narrow it down, like, okay, exactly what my purpose is and how am I supposed to be serving humanity with my gifts. Like I have several family members who are artists, can draw and paint, extremely creative, very, very talented. They've been drawing and painting and things of that nature since they were little children. So they've always known that that's their gift, that's their, talent, right? And so I've always kind of envied them and people like them, because it's like, man, like I used to be like, I wish I had a talent like that, where I could draw or paint, and things like that, so that it would be so obvious, right? But I wasn't blessed with those talents. I can sketch out some stick figures or whatever, but that's about the extent of it, right? And so it's always been kind of in the back of my mind of, what's my talent? What's my gift? What's my purpose? And when I came across Dan Koe and the way he broke it down, it was like, oh, wow, that makes a lot of sense. And here's basically what he said, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, because I don't remember verbatim everything that he said, and I've watched so much of his content. Find your purpose, or to clarify what your purpose is basically start writing down what your problems are, what your challenges are, what are things that you're going through, because 9 times out of 10, things that you're going through and experiencing, a whole lot of other people are as well. And so when you start to, when I started to really think about that helped me gain clarity and focus on, okay, what is my personal brand for my online marketing business, right? It's like, I have varied interests. I'm not just this one-dimensional person, which most of us are not. Most of us are multidimensional, right? So, a lot of influencers out there, social media influencers out there, will tell you gotta, niche down. And that can be good, but it can also come back later on to bite you. And that's one of the things that I really liked about Dan, is that although he does talk about niching, his philosophy is that you are the niche, you are your niche, and who can sell you better than you, right? Who can promote you better than you, right? Nobody can promote you or sell you better than you can promote and sell yourself, right? Hearing that, it was like an epiphany, a light bulb went off in my head. It's not as if I didn't really deep down inside already know that, because I did, but at the same time, it was like I didn't, if that makes any sense. So when you're building a brand, you're your brand, and if you start from that premise, it just makes things so much easier, right? Because instead of trying to think about, if I can't talk about this, I can't talk about that, because there's so many other people on YouTube already, discussing that, or there's so many other people on, well, if you focus on building your own personal brand, figuring out who you are and understanding and knowing what your purpose is, then there's no other brand like you, because there's no other you. There's only one you, right? So it just makes it just so simplistic, right? It just provides so much clarity when you realize that you are your brand, you are the niche, right? So then from there, the key things about building a personal brand is that you build for yourself, right? You write for yourself, and you sell to yourself. These were the 3 key lessons that Dan talked about when it comes to building your personal brand and defining your purpose, right? And then from there, you look at what things interest you, or what are the 3 areas. He calls them topic trees. What are the 3 topic trees that you're having the most problems in? So like for me, my 3 topic trees are health, self-improvement, and business. With health, I've got a whole list of subcategories underneath that, right? Because I'm 50, I turned 50 last year. So I'm a 50-year-old woman who has gone through menopause. And so there's a whole slew of millions and millions of women out there who are either peri or going through or post menopause, right? That a lot of the things that I've experienced, they've experienced, and things that I have learned through my journey of, dealing with perimenopause, menopause, and then postmenopause, I can share with those women out there that can help them, right? So like some of the things that I've done in terms of health and fitness has been, I've tried different types of eating lifestyles, keto carnivore, pescatarian, the standard American diet, of course. I almost went vegan. I stopped shy of going vegan with not giving up fish, on occasion. In terms of fitness wise, which falls under health, right? I was an athlete all throughout, elementary, junior high, and high school. And I've, in over the years, in and out in terms of the gym and things like that. As I've gone through the whole menopause thing, there's a lot of symptoms and stuff that we deal with when it comes to sleep and brain fog and anxiety and depression and weight loss and, all of that. So that all falls under health and fitness, right? And then in terms of self-improvement, I went on a journey of self-improvement, and I guess you could call it spiritual enlightenment many years ago, probably a good 15 years ago. And actually even before then, because I was, raised in church. And then, when I went off to college, I took a religious studies class, and I learned a lot of things when I took that class. And then just from over the years of self-study and reading and meditating and things like that. And then I at one point in time, I had gotten myself, I've done a little bit of life coaching myself. I've gone to events like Anthony Robbins, or Tony Robbins for short, Awaken the Giant Within. That was a very transformational experience, which I'll have to make a video about that. But, I've listened to tons and tons of audiobooks and attended seminars. I wrote my own self-help book, which I published. It's on Amazon. So there's a whole slew of things that, I've experienced or that I can share underneath the self-improvement umbrella, right? And then the business aspect of it is I have worked at many, many different types of companies, places, in government, state government, federal government. When I was in college, I did an internship with an attorney. I did an internship at the White House. So, there's a lot of things under business and professional career development that I've done, I have experience in, that I can talk about. I've, tried different types of businesses, network marketing businesses, MLMs, direct sale. I've been in positions where I was 100%, commission. So I know what that's like. I have a lot of, experience and wisdom in regards to that. In recent years, I've started to get into the whole social media, marketing and different income outlets when it comes to the internet, like, eBay and Amazon and affiliate marketing and things like that. So there's just so many different things that fall under business, right? That I can share and talk about. And, as I'm going through, or things that I have experienced already and things that, I plan on, venturing into in the near future. So, and if I'm my own brand, that allows me to be my authentic self, right? So because when you're trying to mimic someone else, then you're not being yourself. And that's why I've never been a fan of, when I was in the whole, a lot of the, big time team leaders and stuff like that used to say, fake it until you make it. And I was never a fan of that saying, because I always felt like if you try to pretend like something you're not, you're just going to end up being fake in the end, right? So my saying has always been, no, be who you are. If you don't know something, or you don't know the answer to something, when somebody asks you, just be honest and say, you know what? I'm not quite sure, let me do a little bit of research and I'll get back to you. That's one of the things that I learned years ago when I was in mortgage sales, and I rarely got a disgruntled client because I really strived hard to underpromise and overdeliver. A lot of times people overpromise and then they underdeliver, and that's what really frustrates and angers their clients or their customer. And or they'll just lie and just make up stuff, and I'm a straight shooter and I like to deal with people who are straight shooters. So I make it a point to not take any news or label it as negative, right? So, and that's what a lot of people would do. A lot of, sales reps or whatever, they would, if they got a denial, they would avoid their customer or their client, they would ignore their phone calls and stuff. And it's like, and I just try to think about how I would feel if I was in that person's shoes. So I would rather get a fast no. So looking at what your own problems are that you're trying to deal with, or that you've been dealing with, or even maybe some of them you've overcome already, that's going to help you define your purpose. And then if you're wanting to be an entrepreneur or whatever, and you're trying to figure out, or content creator, for instance, and you're trying to figure out, well, what can I talk about that everybody else isn't always talking about, well, you can talk about your experience, because your experience is your own. Your experience is unique, so nobody can talk about your experience or tell your story the way you can. You're the only one that can tell your story and have your experiences in your own unique way, right? But let's see, that was 2 things. So the third thing that I learned from Dan Koe was that there are 3 pillars of your social leverage. He calls it your social leverage. Number 1 is growth. Number 2 is make sales. And number 3 is authentic. And when you're not trying to fake something until you make it, because you probably won't make it if you're being fake. And if you do, it's only going to be temporary, because people can read right through that. It's not hard to be authentic. You're being yourself. When you're trying to be somebody else, you're not going to be able to be authentic. It's like oil and water. The two just don't mix. Okay. And then let's see, number 5, I think I went through 4 already. So the last thing was, and I think I already kind of mentioned this, but the last thing was understanding that when you're building a personal brand, you are your niche, okay? Because the one thing that everybody loves to hear is their own name. People love to hear their own name. People love to talk about themselves and their problems and their issues or their accomplishments, right? So at any rate, those are some of the things that I learned from Dan Koe. Yeah, so hopefully you guys got something out of this. If you're struggling with trying to figure out what your purpose is, why are you here? How are you supposed to be sharing your gifts with the rest of the world? Because really that's why we were born, right? Is we were born with certain talents and gifts, and we were given those talents and gifts in order to give them away and make the world be a better place. At least that's my opinion of why we're here, right? And you can do those things in a million different ways. But if you want to become a entrepreneur, a solo entrepreneur, or a social media influencer, which is basically a type of an entrepreneur, start with writing down what your problems are, what are the issues and challenges that you've had to deal with, because that's going to help you gain some clarity, right? And then from there, write down what your topic trees are, your 3 topic trees, your 3 areas of interest that you could, talk about all day long even if you didn't get paid to do it, right? Um, what things drive you, what motivates you. Write those things down, because that's going to help you, give you some clarity on how to develop your content.